Hello, this is Laura Lee Rose, and I'm a business and efficiency coach. And today we're going to talk about what you really need to know about how your boss's mind works. This is actually from my Thinking Like an Owner series of tools. So, have you ever wondered what makes your boss act the way he or she does? For instance, why was my project postponed or even canceled? And we've had a reorganization, so what's going to happen to the team now? Are we going to be split up? Or what was the reason for these decisions? Or, why was he promoted instead of me? Why is he now made my manager, or vice versa? And who's going to take over that open position now? How is that work going to get done? Or maybe at performance evaluation review time, why did I get this rating that I got? I think I do excellent work, and why did I just get average review rating? And oftentimes, do you think about what the heck are they thinking with some of the management decisions they're making? So, even if you don't have executive level aspirations, even if you don't have entrepreneurship goals, or to step out to be a consultant or own your own business, and maybe you have enough money, or you don't need that promotion, or what if you don't even you enjoy your current position, you want to stay in the same job until you retire, and you just don't want to rock the boat. Even if you have these types of ideas going on, it's good to understand where your boss's mind is, how your boss is thinking, putting yourself in their shoes. It's really important to understand this, to start thinking like an owner, even if you're a staff member or a team player, because it helps you anticipate and be prepared for the unexpected. Because if you understand what the boss thinks is important, you'll be able to supply that type of information easily. Okay, so some of the things that we're going to talk about today is we're going to just go over really quickly the roles and responsibilities. We're going to talk about your boss's role and your role, and then we're going to move into thinking like your boss. What is important to him? Then we're going to have a quick summary. And if you want some more articles, ebooks, and slides, you can leave your email, send me your email address, and I can send you some pointers to some other information. So some roles and responsibilities. We're going to talk about your manager's role, but we're also going to include your HR representative. A lot of people forget about them when they're in a sticky wicket or situation. They forget about their HR representative and that resource. We're also going to talk about your second line manager and your coworkers. What kind of role and responsibilities do they have to you? And then we're going to talk about your responsibilities. And once you understand all the boundaries and who's doing what and the roles and responsibilities of your entire support staff, you'll be able to better collaborate with them and work better as a team. First, your boss. What's your boss's main role here? Well, his role is to really give clear direction and vision of the company goals. Remember, the company is there to make money. They have specific business commitment goals. And then under your company business goals, your department has specific business commitments that support that company goal. So it's in hierarchy. Once you understand what your boss's commitments are, business commitments, then you can see how your role and responsibility supports that department business goal. So that's your boss's role and responsibility, is to clearly outline and give direction in both your department's commitments and your company goals. And then he wants to be able to clearly state the expectations of your role and responsibility as it relates to the team and to the business goals of the company. And he is responsible for keeping the team on target to those business goals. and then to properly communicate the progress, the problems, the issues, the status of all these things in alignment with the company goals. What your boss is not responsible for. He or she is not responsible to assure that you have a satisfying lifestyle. He's not responsible for making your work-life balance strategy comfortable. He's not responsible for you getting along with your coworkers. He's not responsible for providing you executive exposure so that the executive levels know who you are. And the bottom line is he's not responsible to help you keep your job. Now, they are there to support you in your goals and all of these above items, but he's not really responsible for making that happen. You are. HR representative. HR representative is very critical and helpful in assisting with difficult work situations. If you have a difficult conversation or a issue coming up, consult with your HR representative. That's what they're there for. They can give you advice and consult on different things and scenarios. They can also recommend appropriate mentors and coaches to help you with your individual and career development plans. They can help you with a career direction, and if you want to go through the technical ladder or the management ladder, they can advise you in those areas. And they also handle various employment benefits, staffing issues, salary issues, and other administration issues. So don't forget your HR representative as a support resource for you. Once again, the HR person is not responsible for providing you a satisfying lifestyle or a comfortable work-life balance strategy. They're not responsible to make sure you get along with your coworkers or that your work environment is a healthy climate for you. They're not responsible for promoting you into the executive level or getting you the proper exposure for a promotion. And they're not really responsible for helping you keep your job. They can support you in these goals as long as they know what your desires are, but they're not responsible for doing the work for you. Your second line managers and your coworkers. This is another type of resource that we don't make benefit of. Now, your second line and coworkers, they're responsible for assisting in the team environment to support the company and business goals. And they can certainly support you in your career and professional goals as long as they know about it. They can keep an eye out on some open positions and things like that that fit your goals if they know about it. What they're not responsible for. Once again, they're not responsible to assure that you have a satisfying life or work-life balance. They're not responsible for getting along with you or your other employees or coworkers. They're not responsible for assuring that you get executive exposure, and they're not responsible to assure that you keep your job. They can help you in your goals, they can support you, but they're not responsible. Okay, what are you responsible for? You're responsible for clearly articulating your career and professional goals. You want to make sure your goals align with the company vision, mission, and commitment. You're going to be spinning your wheels if your passion, the area, your field of expertise, the areas that you want to be working in do not align with the company vision or commitment. You're going to be very frustrated. For instance, if you're very committed to, say, children education, creating tools for learning disabilities, things like that, that's very much in your interest. And your company is developing tools for hunters or wildlife or outdoor equipment. You can see that those goals are not in alignment, and you're not going to get promoted in that type of company. So that's a great indicator that you need to cut your losses and find another company that's more aligned with your passions. Okay? You've got to continually communicate your goals to the appropriate personnel. They can't help you if they don't know what's going on. And then really, you're responsible for project managing and time managing your own day, your own work-life strategy. Stop complaining that you're working 17 hours a day, 6 days a week, because the fact is you're doing it. That's your job to effectively project manage your time and define the boundaries of what you're going to accept. And it's not your boss's issue, it's your responsibility. Okay, so you really need to design your own professional and personal life vision, mission, and goals. You want to be properly accountable for your deliverables. You don't want to blame somebody else or an external resource of why you didn't get this done or why you have too much stuff on your plate. You are responsible for your own calendar and your own time management. You're responsible with how well you work with coworkers. If you've got a person that's not providing you the information that you need to get something done, you're responsible for finding an alternative way to get that information, whether it's to talk to that coworker's manager or work through that manager's assistant to get on the calendar, things like that. That's your responsibility to find a way to make it work. Once again, you can get advice from your HR personnel or your managers or your mentors or your coworkers, but it's really your responsibility to get it done. And this is your responsibility to continually expose your value to the company. You want to be able to quantify yourself as a significant contributor to the bottom line. That's your responsibility. What you're not responsible for other people's gossips and rumors and issues. You're not responsible for doing other people's works or solving other people's problems. You've got enough stuff on your plate, and you don't want to accept interrupting yourself to do somebody else's work. The other thing you're not responsible for is accepting every task that crosses your desk. You're the time manager, project manager of your own work. You can decide what tasks you're able to do and what tasks you're not able to do. And you need to clearly articulate that and make that published so that your manager can properly manage the things that you cannot or are not accepting. The other thing that you're not responsible for is accommodating to other people's schedule in lieu of your own. What I'm thinking about right now is somebody that is a poor project manager or a poor time manager, and he's in chaos. You're not responsible for accepting the other people's schedule and make your schedule in chaos. Just because they failed to plan and to properly manage their stuff, it doesn't mean that you have to go into turmoil to accommodate their schedule. Okay? So we go through a lot of these issues. We're going through these issues very quickly, but in the IT Professional Development Toolkit, we go through all these things in detail. We provide worksheets and tools and practice sessions on how to incorporate these things in real-world IT scenarios. So keep that in mind. We'll talk a little bit more about those toolkits at the end of this discussion here. So, your boss. Well, number one, he's got a job to do, and oftentimes he doesn't really care how the task gets done. He doesn't care who actually gets it done. It's mostly he needs it done. And the other thing is he often doesn't remember everything he put on your to-do list versus what he put on Jackson's to-do list or what he put on Susan's to-do list. So he can't remember individual items that he put on people's lists. So what that allows you to do is to be open to alternative resources and execution strategies. For instance, He may have suggested that you do this particular task or feature in A, B, C, D order, but he's also going to be open to perhaps combining A and B with a different feature, deleting C altogether because it's no longer effective, and just doing D and E tasks instead of the original ones he suggested. He's also going to be open to acknowledging that, hey, my genius area is doing the A and B piece, but Jackson is great doing C and D, and then we don't really need E because we've covered the essence of the job within 4 steps instead of 5. So he's going to be open to those alternative execution strategies. So once again, he's not going to be so married to this is exactly how it's going to get done and these are the people that exactly have to execute it. He's more interested in just getting the essence of that task done. So that really gives you some open opportunities to explore there. The other thing too is your boss, just like us, we can't read each other's minds. He can't read your mind. He doesn't know what your individual career goals are. He doesn't know your desire to learn a new task or a new skill, or he doesn't explicitly understand the challenges that you're reaching or the skill gaps that you have. He doesn't know your other obligations. Maybe you have some different obligations with your family, with school, with other things. He doesn't know these things until you tell him. Okay? So what does some of these opportunities allow you to have one-on-one meetings and talk to him about these things. You may want to discuss adding additional certification or training to close your skill gaps with your manager. If you're finding you're working extra hours, talk about comp time or maybe flexible hours or even working from home to get around some of these external obligations that you have with your family or community service issues. Okay? How the bosses think, some more. Review time, performance review. I mean, that's full of anxiety and apprehension. But to tell you the truth, your boss really wants to give good performance reviews. It's an easier conversation for him. He wants everybody to do well. If everybody's meeting their performance goals, that really means that he's meeting his performance goals. So, I mean, that's a win-win for everybody. And actually, your boss really wants a smooth and enjoyable work environment. He wants things to go smoothly. He wants everybody to be happy and encouraged at work. This is what he really wants. So one of the things that you can do to help him in this area is initiate quarterly reviews. Sit down with specific action items and agenda to talk about your performance in these different areas. Identify your performance commitments. Talk about metrics. Talk about how he thinks you're meeting these metrics. Talk about your expectations and his expectations. And do this on a frequent basis. Quarterly reviews is at a minimum. You can do it more often if you'd like, but at least do it quarterly. You don't want to wait until the end of the year to find out that there is this big gap in expectations. The other thing that's very important is to understand the reason behind these goals and metrics. A big mistake is to just look at the metrics, go for the metrics, and not understand the reason or the essence for these metrics. One quick example, I was a manager of developers and testers, and there was this metric that we had every 4 weeks. We wanted all the testers to have 0 validation items in their queue. Definition of validation item, a little bit of a back history on that. The testers would find defects. Once they find an open defect, the status would be open and they send it to the developers. The developers will take the open defects, find a fix, and send the status back to fixed and validate. So now the defect goes back to the testers in a validate state. That means that the tester is now supposed to take these validate defects, retest them, and they close them if the test passed, or they reopen and send back to the developers if they passed the test. Every 4 weeks, the goal was for all the testers to have 0 items in validation state. That means they're supposed to have all their validated defects retested and either closed and reopened. Well, there's this one group that waited until the last day. They would ignore the 4-week rule. They would get to the last day and they may have several hundred validated items in their list, and they just go in there and they automatically close all of them. So then they would meet the metric of 0 items in their test queue, but they didn't understand the reason for this rule or these metrics, because statistics show that for every defect that's fixed, there's a 10% chance of finding a new defect or having to reopen one. For instance, if you had 100 defects in your queue that needs to be validated, that have been fixed and needs to be validated, then you go and retest all 100, you would find another 10. Then you'd have to take those 10 and pass it back to the developers for them to fix it. And then once they fix it, they're going to pass those 10 back to you for retesting. You retest those 10, you find another one, and you send it back to the developer who would refix it, send it back to you, and you pass it, and you've done essentially improved your quality of the product because you've found and fixed 111 defects. Well, this group, if you use that same strategy, if they leave their 100 fixed defects in their queue and they go in and just close them all so they can meet the 0 metric goal of 0 in their queue, they just go and close 100, they have actually allowed at least 11 defects or more to get to their client by not retesting those 100 defects. So because they didn't understand the reason for those metrics and goals in place, they didn't understand the essence of that churn, that reason for having those early milestones and gates so that you can assure that you have time to do that recursive churn between fixing, retesting, fixing, retesting. They missed the entire reason for the metrics, and they bypassed the quality goal to begin with. So just understand the reason for those goals, and then be open to sit down with your manager and your coworkers to create win-win alternatives. Don't always just sit down and accept his first answer or his first solution. He's going to be open to alternative solutions and execution strategies. Remember, we talked about earlier, he wants to get this thing done. He's not married that you have to be the one to do it or it has to be done this way. He wants to get it done. He also wants to look good to the executives. He wants to meet his performance goals. So if he can help you meet your performance goals, he's going to be able to meet his performance goals. He wants to produce quality service and products. So if you're not able to accomplish everything on your desk and you speak up and say, hey, I'm not able to get A, B, and C done, and Joe is a better person for A, B, and C anyway, he's going to be okay for handing it off to Joe because it's going to produce a high quality product on time. So he's going to be happy with that. He wants a smooth and enjoyable work climate for everybody. So, just realize that and be open to talk about stuff like that. Recognize some of his goals, offer to assist him in some of his goals. For instance, maybe offer to speak at some of his executive status meetings. If he has some meetings that he needs to attend to, say, hey, I can give that status report to the executives for you. That'll give you additional executive exposure, and it will also help him out too as well. Also, start thinking about cost-saving procedures that increase productivity, things that will increase revenue, maybe get some new ideas out to market, things that are a little bit outside of your daily activities. And also, if you have a new proposal for a new product or a new revenue-generating proposal, get that out to him and the executives. Then you're also getting that executive pursuit, that executive exposure that you've been looking forward to. Okay, and I know I'm pressing executive exposure, but the more people that know about you, the more people see value in your contributions, the better your performance reviews are going to be. If only your manager knows about the kind of work that you're doing, the less likely you're going to do on the performance evaluation. Side note here, during performance review time, all the managers get into one room and talk about all their staff and employees, people that are underneath them. And they rank and compare people from sibling departments. And if only your manager knows about you, you're not going to stand very well in that rating. But if you've got several managers in that room that you've been exposed to, that know your value, that think you're a valuable contributor to the bottom line and to the company, the higher performance rating you're going to get. So I actually, in the IT Professional Development Toolkit, I talk about networking, business networking, working with others, getting better exposure in the right level that really increases your value to the company. So that's something that you want to think about. Is, a lot of people don't think about networking and marketing themselves within their company as it pertains to a good performance evaluation. So in the IT Development Toolkit, we talk a lot about that. Okay. Talking about performance evaluation, here we go. A lot of people complain that, hey, I'm a developer, I do excellent work, I turn my stuff in time, I have few defects, and when I do have a defect, I turn it around very quickly, and they often pass. I do excellent, above average, excellent work, yet I get meet expectation performance evaluation. I get an average rating. Why is that? Well, your boss expects excellent work in your specific role and responsibility. He expects top-notch A1, AAA stuff from you. So if that's his expectation, you're meeting expectation. He's got lots of good people in his group. They're all working hard. He's also under budget, and he's got resource constraints. So, everybody's doing the same kind of stuff. So that's possibly why you're getting an average rating. The other thing, too, as we talked about earlier, is that if he's the only one that knows about your good work, then you don't have other co-managers speaking up for you in those important ranking meetings, too. So think about that networking, or look into that IT Professional Development Toolkit to work on that networking end. Okay, so how do I differentiate myself from the pack? Well, you want to do great work in your defined role, but you also want to do unexpected tasks beyond your role. In the next slide, we'll talk about some specific things that you can do. But for instance, if you're a developer, well, if you bring in new customers, if you bring in new sales, if you bring in, new revenue, if you focus on innovative cost-saving procedures or utilities that increase productivities or reduce diagnostic time or maintenance time, that's something that's beyond your defined role, and that's what gets you set apart from everybody else. Make sure you keep the business commitment and the business goals in line when you do that kind of stuff. Okay? Inappropriate heroes. Now, the boss doesn't like inappropriate heroes. What I mean about inappropriate heroes is, maybe Joe did work, all night to fix this defect. At the same time, he's probably the one that created the defect, or he didn't speak up. If he had spoken up about the issues that he was hitting 2 weeks ago, the manager could call in additional resources to help him out. But he kept it to himself, and now he's working 20 hours. The last 3 days he's been working 20 hours to fix this defect and get it in on time. But that's because he didn't do good project management or time management or include his team in what was going on. So that means, the need for that type of hero just means it's bad management, whether it's time management on your part or project management on the team part. That just means there's something wrong going on. Because remember, heroes really accompany drama and chaos. And what your boss really wants, he wants to attract calm, smooth sailing delivery cycles. He wants to have leaders in his pack that are calm, cool, and collected and can handle anything that comes their way. So, how do I differentiate myself from the pack on that? Well, number one, don't be the source of the chaos. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. But also be aware of your effect on others, because if you're the one causing the chaos, sometimes you don't know you're the chaos. You're trying to hurry up and get this done, and right now you're postponing meetings with Joe because you're focusing on getting this fixed out, and you're postponing your answer to some reviews, and you're holding everybody up because you're trying to quickly fix what you've caused, or quickly be the hero in this area. So you may think you're the MVP, come to the aid of your team on this area, but at the same time you're ignoring and putting off other people that are expecting responses from you in other areas. So you want to make sure you're aware of your effect on all the stakeholders and all your supporting cast members here. And also you want to focus on anticipating requests and issues. The more you know how your bosses think, the more you can anticipate what's going on and be prepared. Okay, we talked about inappropriate heroes, but your boss does appreciate appropriate MVPs. They want to reward behaviors that they want to encourage. Okay, and what do they want to encourage? They want to encourage well-planned, high-quality, and smoothly run releases. They want to encourage leaders that excel in project management, that excel in time management, that turns in their stuff early, has time to do the beyond their role items. So some of the heroic efforts that are outside their daily expectations is you want to be able to get your job done in a timely fashion, so you have time to use your extra time in writing white papers or generating new sales leads or creating special utilities that will increase productivity or reduce diagnostic time or reduce technical support issues. Things like that. You want to maybe use your spare time in speaking at conferences, and once you're at conferences, you bring back sales leads by just asking people for their business cards or their contact information. You bring it back to the marketing people. Marketing people put it back into their customer contact list, and so forth. Another thing is that you can take time to initiate internal deployment of your products within the other departments in your company. This will give you internal exposure to sibling departments. Other managers, co-managers will know who you are, will know the type of work that you are, will know the type of person that you are. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. So you can do internal deployment in different areas of your company so that other people can know who you are. That gives you early feedback into your product. You can find it's going to be almost an internal beta release of your product before outside customers see it. Okay? Some other things about how your boss thinks. A lot of people, well, a couple people that I've run into would complain that they're working 14 hours a day and even on the weekends, and their boss doesn't appreciate it and stuff like that. Well, I always look at your boss or your manager or even your company as blind waiters. They're going to come up and they're going to fill your cup or fill your glass until you say when. That's your responsibility to say stop. So they're going to continue to assign you things until you say, whoa, that's enough. So they really expect you to manage your own time. And at the same time, they don't like surprises. They don't want you to keep this stuff to yourself until you're 3 weeks past a deadline to say that you can't get it done on time. They don't like surprises like that. You keep these things to yourself, they can't help manage the problem. It's too late for them to do anything about it, and of course then that makes them angry. Okay? So how do I differentiate myself from the pack? You really need to excel in project management and reporting and time management. The more self-sufficient you are in these traits and skills, the more your boss is going to appreciate it. You need to also be comfortable in conducting change management and everything that crosses your desk. You want to review the priority on all these things, all the new requests that come in. You want to make sure you understand the consequences, who the stakeholders are, what's the consequences for getting off of this task and moving on to this task before the first task is done, things like that. And you also want to communicate your status at your boss's frequency and method. For instance, maybe your boss, he or she may have 300 emails that come in an hour's time, or she may have an assistant that all her emails go to the assistant, so she doesn't see it or he doesn't see that email right away. So if you're using email for all your communication, you have a high priority issue or a question that has to be answered within 15 minutes and you send it by email, that's not going to work because that's not his method of communication for high priority issues. So you need to have a communication plan with your manager and sit down on your one-on-one meetings and discuss how do we communicate on regular issues. Maybe regular status information gets agreed that email is the right way to communicate regular staff and information meetings. Maybe it's, hey, just update this website here with your regular status information. Maybe things that you need me to comment on, send me an email, but put the subject matter, need your comments by 5 o'clock, or need your input by Friday. Something, agree about something in the subject line to trigger, I need to trigger for him to say, I need to respond to this by such and such a deadline. Maybe you agree that problems, issues that you hit, problems and challenges, you're going to leave him a voicemail, not email, but call him up on the telephone. If he's not there, you leave a voice message. If it's a critical stop issue, stop production, a high priority issue, maybe it is that you call him on the phone, you go to his office, or you beep him. Maybe you send a text message or beep him. But you have a communication plan that goes through all these different levels of issues that normally arise in a project or a development cycle. And then once again, get comfortable saying when. You know what's on your plate. He's not going to remember what's currently on your plate, but you do. So you want to continually review that with him and say when. Say, you can give this, think about it logically. Yeah, my plate only holds 5 items. If he gives me 7 items, 2 of them are going to fall off the plate. That's just the way it is. But if you don't tell him which 2 or anything, he can't manage, and he can't give those last 2 items to somebody else and get it done. Remember, one of the things we talked about is that he really doesn't care who does the work or how it gets done. It's just important that it gets done. Okay? So, to that extent, he's less interested in where you are in regards to status. He's more interested in when you will be done. Now, that doesn't mean he's not interested in your where you are right now. He's just more interested in your completion date. Because oftentimes, your completion date, a lot of people are dependent on that. You're not the last one in the flow. You've got to hand off your stuff to somebody else. And until you hand it off, maybe the train is in limbo or stuck a little bit. And this is a good indicator. If he keeps asking, when are you done, when are you done, when are you going to be done, that tells you that you're in a critical path somewhere, and possibly you are the bottleneck on that stuff. So, how do I differentiate myself from the pack on this? Well, you want to lead your status report with when you're going to be done, because that's important to him. When are you going to be done? And then follow up with what's holding you up, who you're waiting on, and issues like that. And then don't go into too much of a detail of how you got here, where you started, why you're here, things like that. Don't go into detail about that unless they're asking for it, asking for that type of information. Just wait for those requests, because a lot of us find it important to tell people what we want to tell them versus what our boss really wants to know. So get to what the boss really wants to know first, and then let him ask questions. At the same time, you want to be prepared for all the questions, but lead off with exactly what he wants first. Okay? And then incorporate what I call confidence percentages. A lot of times we're asked to sign up for a schedule or a plan that's maybe 6 months in length or 4 weeks into the future, and we're not mind readers, we're not psychics, we can't read into the future, so we're not really sure that we can meet that. But the thing is, but you don't have anything specific to say you can't meet it. So a lot of times we say, yes, this schedule looks reasonable. What I like to do is put confidence percentage in my response. Say, I'm 75% confident that I can make this schedule, but then follow up with some of the items that are slowing you down. I'm 75% confident, and once I get A, B, and C completed, my confidence level will increase. And I'm scheduled to get A, B, and C completed by Thursday. So by Thursday, I would be able to tell you what my new confidence level is. Okay? So be prepared to tell people when you'll be able to tell them something, or when you'll be able to give them an update. People don't like, especially bosses and executives, they don't like the answer, I don't know, or I don't have enough information. Follow it up. If you don't know, it's okay to say I don't know, but follow it up with when you will know. Say, I'm waiting for information on A, B, and C. When I get that, I'll be able to tell you better, and I'm expected to get A, B, and C by Friday, something like that. Okay? Same thing. We talked a little bit about, if you're constantly being asked, when are you going to be done, when are you going to be done, that tells you that you're probably the bottleneck in the situation. A lot of people are waiting for you. So what are some of the things I can do to extricate myself from the critical path or bottleneck situation? Well, number one, you've got to understand critical path and bottlenecks. I have the IT professional development toolkit that we talk about critical path analysis. We talk about bottlenecks, how to extricate yourself from it, how to identify if you're in a bottleneck situation, things like that. Learn about how to do that. That's part of good project management and time management. Okay, so first you understand what position you're in on the critical path, and then incorporate progressive refinement in your ability to extricate yourself from the bottleneck. That means, get comfortable delivering in phases to allow others to continue to move forward. Some examples, maybe you've got you're responsible for feature A, feature 1, one feature. And in that feature, you have 4 pieces, A, B, C, and D. And Joe and Samantha is waiting for piece A and B. Okay, what you can do is split your feature into mini tasks A, B, C, and D, and make sure you release A and B to Samantha and team. And while you're working on C and D, they are moving forward with their A and B. You don't want to wait. You don't want to make them wait until you finish the entire feature the feature 1 or whatever the feature that you're working on, and you're stopping them up when you could split your feature up into A, B, C, and D, get A and B done, release that to them, and then you're still working on C and D while they're moving forward. Another thing too is maybe they're working, they don't need the full, complete, debug-free part A and B. Maybe they just need A and B to supply them with an output of something. So you can quickly create a piece A and B that gives them the output that you need, hand that off to them while you continue to work on the aesthetics of A and B. So that's another way of progressive refinement to get yourself out of the hot seat. So Samantha and team isn't waiting for you, and they're stopped up. Okay. This way, it also allows you to gather feedback and enhancement requests while you're still working on A, B, C, and D. You don't have to you don't want to wait until you finish your feature, hand it off. Now you're working on the next feature, feature 2. If somebody has a problem with feature 1, you've got to stop feature 2, go back to feature 1, and put in fix those defects and enhancements. You want to be able to give early releases and early prototypes of feature 1 while you're still in feature 1, so that you're not creating that churn for yourself. So you can get the feedback and enhancement requests while you're still in the feature 1 development cycle. Okay. How your boss thinks. Your boss, he has many people working through him. He's got people underneath him. You're not his only employee. He's got lots of staff underneath him. He also has a lot of people he has to report to. He has multiple people to report to as well. So he's responsible as the go-between in a lot of instances. So what happens then is that it means that he has different focuses throughout the day. Your stuff isn't his high priority all the time. Okay, so that's why sometimes he can't remember everything he's given to you, or all the priority items and things like that. So what can you do to differentiate yourself from the pack is, once again, it's important to continually review your to-do list and priorities. Really get used to doing that change management process every time a new item or task gets put on your desk, and be willing to say when. Be willing to say, great, if I add this at the top of the list, what are we taking off the list? And be transparent with your to-do list and what's on your plate. He's not going to remember it, so you've got to continually remind him and review it with him. We talked about networking with other managers and departments. Other managers and departments, they may have utilities that have already accomplished some of these things. We also talked about that important performance review room where all the managers get together to rank all the employees that are underneath them. And the more people you know, the more people that know you, let me say that, more people that know you, know your value, know your contributions, the better for you when you're in that room. And then also incorporate appropriate mentors, coaches, HR representatives to help you along the way. Okay. Some more tips. Your boss is just like you. He has lots of things to do. And some days you're going to find that he's going to come in your office and drop things off on your desk at the end of the day, or he's going to interrupt your day with some new tasks, or he's going to forget to share some important deadlines and consequences of some things. He's just like you. He's got lots of things going on. But you've got to remember that just because he's dropping things off at the end of the day doesn't mean, oh, he's telling me I have to get this done. He's asking me to work past 5 o'clock to get this done. It really probably means that he's finished with it. He wanted to get it off his desk. He wanted to cross it off his things to do, and he's just moving it to the next phase. And unfortunately, the next phase is maybe for you to review or for you to do something with him. But it doesn't mean that he's telling you, hey, you got to stop what you're doing and doing this. It just means that he wanted it off his desk. So you've got to get used to asking who, what, where, when, and how on these things. He drops something off your desk, ask who's it for, who are the stakeholders, what are the consequences, when do you want it, where does it go from here, things like that, and just don't assume all this stuff. And then we talked about it before, review your current priorities with him each time he adds something on your task list. He's a person just like you. He knows your plate is only so big, so he's going to understand things dropping off your to-do list, the change of priorities and things like that. And number one, he may have forgotten to tell you if he didn't realize you're still working on to do item 1. He probably forgot to say, oh well, to do item 1 is no longer a high priority because that client has gone to a competitor or something. He may know some different things that you don't know, and maybe he didn't realize that you needed to know that, hey, this item is no longer high priority because this client, jumped shift and went to a competitor or something like that. So be comfortable in asking these questions: who, what, where, when, how, and on things that come across your desk. And just realize that he's just human too, so he's not gonna remember everything. Okay, so I've got lots of toolkits available, but there are also more resources. Great authors out there. 7 Habits of Stephen Covey. The 4 Agreements is Don Ruiz. I really enjoy the 4 Agreements. These are great books by other authors that I'd like you to take advantage of when you have the time. So take a look at some of these titles and jot them down. So releasing soon, I've got several IT professional toolkits coming out, and they're specifically for the IT environment, and they've got real-world examples, things that you can incorporate in your daily activities right now. To get on an email list so that you know exactly when they're being released, send me some email, Laura Rose at rosecoaching.info, and I'll send you some more information about the release dates on these upcoming toolkit series. We've got a Volume 1, Volume 2 called IT Professional Development Toolkit. Those are some of the worksheets and checklists and templates that I was talking about throughout this presentation about how this will improve your project management skill set, and talking about critical path and bottlenecks and things like that, how to correctly estimate your work, things like that. Volume 2 is the second piece to that series. Then I have another series called Thinking Like an Owner tool set. There's 2 pieces to it. How your boss's mind works, and this is focused on staff or team members version. So what you can do if you're working as a staff member in a corporate environment, what you need to know about your boss, and some of the worksheets and strategies and templates and planning sheets that you can use to help you out with thinking like the boss. And then there's a second version called Taking That Leap. That's when you're ready to, or you're interested in transitioning from a staff or team member and to an entrepreneur, to being a solo business owner or a consultant. Okay. Then I have an IT time management toolkit specifically for the IT environment that focus on time management issues. And this toolkit has several webinars, worksheets, videos, audios. I have a lot of these different media so that you can listen to the audios while you're at your desk or while you're running or exercising and stuff. Same thing as the videos. You can have your videos going on in the background while you're at your desk and that you're working. All these toolkit segments are intended to be less than 10 minutes in length so that you can look at them in your break and talk about the exercises in the discussion forums and things like that. I also have IT employee-employer relationship toolkit, and it's got the different materials here in webinar, worksheets, videos, and audio format as well. Okay, so they're going to be released soon. If you want to get on an email list to find out about the release dates or more information about them, either go to my website at lauraleerose.com or email me at laurarose@rosecoaching.info. Thanks.